Greetings and welcome to another video. Yes, a tier list again, but one that shall stand out heavily compared to the others because it's the most subjective one I possibly made. Yeah, of course, the others are very subjective too. But however, nobody with a sane mind will inject objectivity on this one, because how cool or badass a job feels and looks is definitely ranging inside personal preference territory. So here's my personal take on the coolest jobs of Final Fantasy XIV. Starting with the tanks, there's no way around the first S tier spot for the Dark Knight, as this job is literally a dream come true for everyone being involved with their dark side. Even though the fitting skill had been removed a long time ago, or at least being integrated into another mechanic now. But just the questline alone might be one of the best of all jobs, and the animations are so cool you can even summon a shadowy version of yourself to inflict pain and suffering to your enemies. Which on top is also a reference to the job quest. Except your conviction leading more into light than darkness, the Dark Knight is the obvious choice for a job that might even be unrivaled on its coolness outside of Final Fantasy. That mentioned, those leaning towards the other side of the spectrum will prefer a paladin, and while the sword and shield playstyle does lack a distinctive shield behavior and moveset, it does visually incline to have one. So just from the looks of skills and spells, it feels like a true sword and shield paladin indeed. On the other hand, Endwalker did grant the paladin an impressive arsenal of climatic attacks, calling forth the full glory and power of magical blade sword attacks. This alone makes it a solid A tier. The warrior, while being a powerhouse and one-man army in nearly everything, I simply feel to lack the epicness of Dark Knight and Paladin. While fell cleaving might be a cool side activity for true hipster lumberjacks, it does get boring after a while, and even Primal Rend or Inner Chaos cannot redeem us from low blow animations. It's a raw power job with simple attack schemes and brutality, but nothing I would ever place close to a Dark Knight. Gunbreaker on the other hand, while I don't like it that much on its playstyle aspect, making my power test or 5 reasons videos back in Shadowbringers or Endwalker always inspired me for some really cool battle animation footage on the Gunbreaker. As this simply looks amazing, and I'm always baffled by the animation schemes this job is offering. I would never have believed that Squall and Lightning being combined and mixed into one MMO job would make so much sense, and Thancred takes this to the next level when he's showing off his magnitude. Definitely very close to a paladin in my opinion. Alright, let us talk about casters a bit. All of them offer the big explosions, and compared to other MMOs where spells simply look ridiculous, this is a big selling point for me, and I don't know if it's an actual meme or simply a fact that Black Mage spell animations are simply breathtaking, and Big Fire Force, while being repeated over and over again, still don't lose their attraction. It is indeed something spiritual to see your enemies getting melted down to their bones. However, Summoner does fulfill the same purpose while it feels dull rotationally, calling forth the massive power and cheeks of Titan, the eye-searing blast of Bahamut, or fiery incantations of Phoenix will always have a big place in my heart. If you like the Final Fantasy XVI primal fights, you will love the Summoner, and animation wise they made it become a banger job in Endwalker. Red Mage in my opinion drops down a tier because I personally love the mix between melee combat and casting, especially with the triple blast glory of Verholy and its follow-up spells. Like I said multiple times, Scourge has something enigmatic, and I would even dare to say that it feels amatory in the way how the Red Mage is struggling to hold the power in just until it's getting released in a full blast. Though it's a special taste indeed and falls a bit short compared to the big explosion duo of Summoner and Black Mage. On the ranged physical department, there is definitely room for improvement, not only on the power ranking and meta position of these jobs, but on their style department too. While I always try to hype up each and every job in my 5 reasons video series, and there are many awesome weapons for each job in the game as shown on my 10 most epic weapon videos, Bard falls short to the other jobs. Yes, it has a unique trait with its performance feature, but battle-wise, while the big cooldown phase looks appealing, compared to other jobs the stances afterwards always look boring and a bit dated. It has a very distinct look to it, which might appeal to fans of archer or ranged classes in general, but it's just not enough to shine in this game as much as other jobs do. Which can be said for the dancer as well. How unique its fighting style may be, dancing to deal damage simply cannot work, right? I mean, throwing glaives is one thing, but dancing in place to grant you and your party certain buffs is just too special in my opinion. And playing dancer never makes me feel that I'm fighting against enemies, but something in between of highlighting the muscles of my fellow samurai mate. Which is indeed something that reflects its playstyle perfectly, and I must grant Square some props of making it happen, but for players with a main character approach, dancer simply lacks the grit to make it. Except when you're Ricardo Milos. But there's one that I would definitely grant a high spot on this list, that is the Machinist. I mean, just take a look at Flamethrower. This and offering a true gunslinger job in a fantasy game might feel out of place, but its lore and background explains it quite decently. Especially as you also have a mech joining the fight frequently. Just some character movement physics make it look weird from time to time, so no contestant for the S tier podium. Melee jobs are even more subjective in my opinion, as it heavily depends on the weapon or weapons the jobs are using, which brings me to Monk, as it's basically not using any weapons at all, except for some knuckles, claws and other hand extensions. To be fair though, the serious Monk player uses the Emperor's Fist, which replaces your weapons with bare hands, and then finally all the JoJo memes, Dragon Ball or Street Fighter spirit can be applied to this job, making it a redeeming factor to land anywhere higher than the last tier, because those animations are really special for fist fighting, but very boring and unspectacular compared to a Bahamut or Xenoglossy for example. Samurai I would definitely place a step above Monk due to the katana having many fans, and the sound effects really sold this job to me when it had been released in Stormblood. Still, the double Midare is a high point in its visual design, especially with the added Oginami Kiri, making the finishers a striking argument for the samurai's coolness. Apart from that though, the samurai feels and looks very boring, and outside of these phases can become visually and playfully tedious. Ninja on the other hand has a trick up its sleeve, and that is the overall moveset, leading to very big attacks that feel fast and powerful alike, while having little extras at hand like the Bunshin double hit effect that I find visually stunning. But of course all comes down to the big Yosho Ranryu and the Endwalker finishers that look and feel awesome. And while I'm actually not a big fan of weaving jutsus, it does look cool in game, and Square did a fantastic job in realizing the idea of a ninja in Final Fantasy XIV, especially as you have a whole different approach in PvP where it becomes more like a rogue and stealth killer that also feels amazing. Another step above all of them I would personally put Dragoon, because regardless if you like the playstyle or not, the animations and jumps are a big selling point for me. As a longtime Final Fantasy Tactics fan, this is just fan service all around. And its OGCD heavy burst window or the double life of the dragon phase, there's just so much going on with the Dragoon that you would be astonished watching it. Unfortunately, your eyes are hard pressed onto your hotbar, so you will never be able to truly enjoy this spectacle unless you have a couple of days played with this job already. And basically all these arguments and traits lead us to the almighty Reaper that simply takes all the good aspects and combines them with the badass darkness and death vibes of a Dark Knight, while also taking combat animations to a whole new level. The Enshroud phase might be one of the most epic looking battle sequences I have seen in any game yet, and due to the fast OGCD and GCD switching inside of it, you really feel the power of that phase. Yet you also have the time and focus to watch these beautiful screen shaking strikes, so Reaper takes the cake for me, and due to how new and up to date these animations look, it even outmatches the Dark Knight. And if you're still not sold on this job yet, just take a closer look to your character during your Enshroud phase. It just looks awesome. Last but not least, healers. While of course it is tougher to decide healers who are mostly focused on keeping things safe and sound around them, I feel like in Final Fantasy XIV, Square did manage to pull off very distinct features and visuals between them. Starting with the Astrologian that I would simply put in the middle ground due to how awesome the big stellar explosions look, and in general the animations are decently flashed out to begin with. Just the card draw system, while bearing many references to a famous card game anime, is just not my style of dealing with buff applications. Though all the other star and space focused spells offer a very cool and fitting framework for the healer. White Mage on the other hand has Holy and Blood Lily. Everything else are just simple healing spells with not much impact or style to them. Yes, Glare might be a meme-worthy spell, but that's basically it. The only redeeming factor are its wings and that the animations look kinda smooth most of the times. And in my opinion the worst of them is the Scholar. I guess it's just lacking visual fidelity, and all the fairy interactions are cool and might appeal to some players, but for me and probably some part of the majority it could be too playful. There's no Bahamut or Phoenix equivalent, even though the Seraph tries to be one, and while I like the sprint ability, Scholar just falls short compared to the competition. It is a very special job, but for me the whole design and animations are definitely a bit unappealing, which its weapon definitely can't compensate. Sage on the other hand kinda gets the Reaper treatment, and the animations definitely look very cool and new to me. I'm not yet sure if I like it playstyle wise, because it had been the last job I just recently unlocked. But so far it does look good playing it. The weapon is also something I'm a big fan of, as they make lots of visual noise around their caster and its party. So definitely a very good overall package and one of my favorite healers on the style department. Hell yeah, finally a tier list that is able to have room for Blue Mage. Because let us be real, with access to so many spells and a whole gameplay aspect designed around receiving and using them properly, this is definitely an S tier choice, and people that have played Blue Mage content will agree. Just check out Nova Funbun's awesome Blue Mage skills on their channel and you will definitely learn how epic this job can be. Alright, that's it for my tier list, but like always I would love to hear your personal preference for a coolness ranking in the comments section. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy and keep loving Final Fantasy.